everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about what disabilities I have. In case you didn't know, I have a service dog. This is her. She's playing right now, so you might hear her in the background, but I'm going to talk about why I have her today. So there are some that we have an actual diagnosis for, and there's some we don't. So I'm going to start with the ones that we have diagnoses for. So the first diagnosis I got was that I am going deaf. So I was born with a bone malformation in my left ear, which caused one of the bones in my inner ear to be fused to my skull. When I was in high school, I had a surgery done to essentially replace that bone with a piece of metal. Unfortunately, it didn't change anything. So we still going deaf. This one I have almost no hearing in right now. And then on this side, my right ear, I have a different type of hearing loss. I forget what it's called specifically. Sorry, there's dogs playing over there, and it's very distracting. So I forget what it's called specifically, but it's not conductive hearing loss. It's a different kind. And this one's been slowly decreasing over time. So eventually I will likely be completely deaf. At this point, I can hear most things in like the talking range. Here's another dog. In the talking range. This one's not my service dog, but she's going to join us for a minute, it looks like. So I can hear most things in the human like voice range, but I can't hear things like fire alarms, stuff like that. So Paula will tell me when those are happening. But yeah, eventually I will likely be completely deaf. Hearing aids don't really help. They just make it hurt more than anything else. So I generally don't wear them, even though I do own them. I just don't really use them. All right, so my next diagnosis is, I'm going to do the psychiatric ones next. So I have pretty severe depression and anxiety. I always have. I'm just an anxious person. But yeah, so I've always had those. And then I also have PTSD for several different reasons. So one of them that I will share about. So this happened last year. It's based out of two separate events, but they're both related to cars. So last year I was in a relatively minor car accident the first time, but the way I was treated while I was getting my car fixed was very abusive and frankly violated ADA law. And I can go into detail on that in a different video if you guys want, but I'm not going to really talk about it. So I just have a negative association already with broken cars or car crashes. And then last November, I got in a really bad car accident. I wasn't at fault in either of these, but in the second car accident, my car ended up being totaled. And it's just very hard for me to be in cars now. I get car sick super easy. I get really nervous when I'm in cars, and it causes me to have anxiety and panic attacks when I'm in cars now. I had PTSD technically before that, but this was just another one that got added on top. So those are the mental health related ones. The next one is kind of, I don't think it's technically the right diagnosis, but I do have some sort of irritable bowel syndrome thing going on. And I don't have celiac because that's what we thought for a while, but I can eat gluten, and if I eat gluten or if I don't eat gluten, I feel the same amount of sick. So that doesn't really matter. But so there's something going on digestion wise, but I'm not 100% convinced that IBS is the actual label. So yeah, that one's kind of up in the air at this point. And then finally, I have some pretty intense mobility issues. So I have really bad chronic pain, which causes it so there are days that I can't get out of my bed, or where my legs will just buckle because I'm in so much pain. And then going along with that, I dislocate joints really, really easily. So like my fingers will pop out, my wrists will pop out, my elbows, that's a new one. I did that one a couple weeks ago. That was fun. My knees, my shoulders, pretty much any joint that you could dislocate, I can do it. And luckily now it doesn't hurt as much. It's more just annoying. But yeah, and a lot of people here might be like, oh, that sounds like EDS. I can't say the actual long term for EDS because I can't figure out how to pronounce it because I can't hear it correctly. Going back to being deaf. But EDS, if you Google that, you can look it up if you don't know what it is. And I, at this point, have not been diagnosed or tested for EDS. But I'm not going to deny that it does sound very similar to what's going on. And then it's possible that if we can't find something else, that I'm just going to be labeled as someone with fibromyalgia. So we've talked about that a lot too. So unfortunately, my chronic dislocations and my pain, we don't have a diagnosis for. Luckily, Apollo is my service dog, is very adaptable, so it doesn't really matter. She'll just do whatever I've trained her to do. But it's still kind of frustrating to not have answers. I wish I did. But yeah, so those are my disabilities as of right now. Most of them we don't, or some of them at least, we don't have labels for. Hopefully that will change soon. So right now I'm filming this video in the middle of the COVID-19 outbreak. So all of my doctor's appointments for the foreseeable future have been canceled. So I currently was supposed to have an appointment with a neurologist and a rheumatologist, but obviously those are delayed for now. So when I have an update, I will gladly share it. But right now, that's all I got. Bye, guys.